Discover the miraculous truth: how premarital relationships can lead to shocking soul damage. In the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, Dinah, daughter of Jacob and Leah, felt the heavy mantle of familial sanctity resting upon her shoulders. In the land of Canaan, she blossomed into a vision of beauty, her spirit bright yet burdened by the constraints etched in the ancient laws of her people. Surrounded by the protective embrace of her family, particularly the fierce loyalty of her brothers, Simeon and Levi, her heart longed for freedom beyond the borders of their encampment. One fateful morning, as the sun ascended to its zenith, an irresistible allure pulled Dinah towards the city of Shechem. The vibrant sounds of life beckoned her, a symphony of laughter and celebration that filled the air. With a heart racing in exhilaration, she slipped away, venturing past the familiar tents and into the unknown. The stalls glimmered with exotic wares, and the joyous gatherings seemed to cascade like waves of joy washing over tired souls. In that moment, Dinah felt alive, liberated from the weighty expectations that enveloped her like a winter cloak. Yet amid this newfound vibrance lurked a shadow, a whisper of danger she could not foresee. Shechem, son of Hamor, caught sight of Dinah, and their eyes met in an electric moment that ignited a spark. With charming words that flowed like sweet honey, he approached her. But what began as innocent connection morphed abruptly into a moment steeped in darkness, as sin encroached upon their encounter, transforming joy into shadows of despair. The news of her disgrace echoed back to her family, a harbinger of outrage and grief. Simeon and Levi were consumed with righteous indignation. The ancient laws of honor, the very fabric of their identity, echoed through the corridors of their hearts, pushing them toward vengeance. Would they honor their sister as suffering, or would fury dictate their next steps? As they plotted vengeance, the air thickened with foreboding. Dinah wrestled with her own spiraling emotions, shame and loss intertwined within the chambers of her heart. Amid the chaos, she longed for the light of yesterday's laughter, where faith and familial bonds had woven a tapestry of love around the fire at twilight. Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select all notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did next. As night's veil draped over the land, Dinah's heart ached with abandonment, a longing for redemption in a world turned chaotic. Questions hung thick in the air. Would her brothers act justly, or would revenge imprison them further? Would God weave a redemption story amid the threads of tragedy? Her cries ascended to the heavens, seeking mercy and guiding light. How could her family navigate this turmoil? In that stillness, like a pebble cast into quiet waters, the ripples of her choice would soon stir profound implications, potentially channeling God's purpose in ways unseen. What would dawn unveil? As the dawn broke over Shechem, the sun cast a warm glow upon the land, yet the hearts of Dinah's family remained shrouded in deep sorrow and anguish. Simeon and Levi convened, their voices fraught with the weight of despair as they contemplated the path of retribution. "Shall we be silent?" Simeon proclaimed, fists clenched in fury. "Shall we watch her shame stain our father's name? This can neither stand nor be forgotten. Shechem must pay for his wickedness." Levi, though equally stirred by rage, paused to consider their sacred duty. "But what will be our legacy? Will we become the very embodiment of the violence we abhor? We are bound by covenant, my brother. Let us seek not only justice but the heart of God." Dinah, feeling the tremors of turmoil from afar, knelt in her solitude, her spirit tormented yet flickering with remnants of hope. "O Lord," she cried, her voice trembling, "in this darkness, I seek your light. Speak to us that we may know thy will." In the heavens, God listened, and his silence echoed back the cries of his anguished daughter. The hour was drawing near when his divine purpose would unfurl, for he had not forsaken his people nor left Dinah without hope. Meanwhile, Shechem, emboldened by his passion, approached Hamor, his father, with a burning desire to make amends. "Let us covenant together," Father, I wish to take Dinah as my wife. For her, I will offer any price. Hammer, wise yet blind to the churning tempests that brewed around him, nodded, let us go forth and speak to her family. If our lands could unite, it would be a great gain for both our peoples. But the brothers, hidden in the shadows, overheard their plot. Their fury surged anew, igniting the flames of vengeance. A covenant? Levi seethed, when deceit lies at the heart of their intentions? With the sun setting low on the horizon, Simeon captured the gleam of steel in his eye. Let there be a covenant, indeed. Let it be signed in blood, for only through sacrifice can we reclaim our sister's honor. As twilight descended, the men of Shechem approached the tents of Jacob with Hammer bearing the proposal. The air was thick with anticipation, a delicate balance hung between peace and wrath, each heartbeat echoing the weight of decisions yet to be made. Jacob, with his heart heavy upon receiving the news, felt the tension radiating from his sons. Is it not enough for our family to suffer this disgrace? Are we to endure more bloodshed upon the land? He begged for wisdom, for what was his daughter's value but that of a precious soul, created in the image of God? Father, they replied callously, for her dignity shall we sacrifice everything necessary. They must pay for their sin. The confrontation between right and wrong loomed ever closer as word of their vengeance spread like wildfire throughout Shechem. In the hearts of both men and women, fear began to root itself deeply, breeding animosity on all sides. Dinah, listening to the whispers of fate, felt a stirring within, a shudder of understanding that something divine clawed at the edges of her understanding. But what if our God has a plan for peace in this rubble of pain? She murmured, feeling the weight of providential tension seams drawn taut. Thus, as the sun fell behind the mountains and darkness surged forth, questions of vengeance and honor collided, setting the stage for God's unfolding grandeur. Beneath the shadows of conflict, a divine agenda awaited to burst forth, for among the fray and despair, God's sovereign hand would orchestrate a revelation most profound. The days ahead would prove pivotal, revealing the depths of redemption woven into the tapestry of their lives yet unseen. But what scheme was God crafting amidst the chaos? What transformation awaited Dinah and her family that would transcend their immediate pain? The dawn of a new day and a new direction loomed ahead, shrouded in the sacred mystery of the Almighty's will. As dawn broke anew over Shechem, the tension in the air was palpable, a somber thickening that settled heavily upon the hearts of Jacob's household. The stars that had twinkled above now dimmed under the rising sun, doing little to dispel the shadows that loomed over the family. Simeon and Levi's voices lingered in Jacob's mind, their declarations of vengeance echoing like an echoing nightmare. What have I birthed into this world? He wondered, grappling with the turmoil that replaced his previous peace. Gathered around their father in solemnity, the sons deliberated. Father, Simeon began, unyielding, we cannot let our sister's honor be trampled beneath the feet of those who have sullied it. Levi interjected, eyes sparkling with fervor, let them come pretending peace, but we shall be vigilant. They have no regard for the sanctity of our lineage. Our father's name and our sister's dignity demand action. Jacob, oppressed by the weight of familial loyalty mingled with paternal wrath, spoke softly, yet with authority, let us not act in haste, my sons. We cannot become like the very people we resent. What shall our legacy be if we stain our hands with blood? Our God has called us to be a people set apart. At that moment, Dinah emerged from her quiet corner, her spirit wrestling with her trauma yet yearning for reconciliation. Do not let our decisions be driven by vengeance, she implored, her voice a fragile thread weaving through chaos. The Lord will hear our cries. Is it not He who lays the path before us? In Him, I seek restoration, not destruction. This bold assertion halted their heated debate, and they turned to her, the silence heavy with disbelief and softening resolve. The brothers exchanged glances, their righteous anger abating under the righteous wisdom of their sister, a divine spark amid their darkened counsel. As dusk approached, the men of Shechem stood at the borders of Jacob's camp, a contingent eager for reconciliation. Hammer, laden with gifts and proposals, spoke first, his tone earnest, we come in peace to negotiate a union that could bridge our peoples. Your daughter is the jewel of our hearts, and for her, We would honor the value of your pride with any dowry you deem fit." No sooner had the words left Hammer's lips than a charge of unspoken tension sparked between the two families. Jacob looked upon his sons, their expressions a canvas of conflicting emotions, faith interwoven with despair. "Is this indeed what the Lord has planned for us?" Jacob whispered to himself, seeking a sign as he met the gaze of the heavens. Dinah, catching her father's eye, wrought forth a vision, a flicker of hope amidst the despair. Perhaps an alliance could forge a new pathway, one that would not cast the shadow of vengeance but could perhaps bring healing. "Father," she cried, stepping forward, "let us seek a path that honors the Lord. Let their offer be weighed with discernment. But let us pray for guidance. Now is the hour we must ask of our God to reveal His will." As they gathered in the softening light, drawing near to the altar of their faith, a hush enveloped them, and the wind carried with it a sacred whisper. The heart of the Almighty surged with plans unknown, waiting to be unveiled. And within that moment, the promise of a new beginning loomed, for God was ever present in their prayers, a promise of unfolding grace that could transform the darkness into light. But what was this new covenant that God unfolded in the midst of turmoil? How could a union born from ash and sorrow lead to a legacy of faith? Thus the narrative stretched forward, layered with divine mystery and a flicker of hope, the dawn indeed waiting to burst forth with God's sovereign revelation. While Jacob and his sons lifted their voices in prayer, the gathering clouds overhead seemed to mirror the turmoil within their hearts. The cool evening air turned heavy with anticipation, as if the very heavens were poised to respond to their cries. They sought wisdom from the Lord, their deep sighs and earnest supplications intertwining in faint echoes, rising before the Almighty. In that hush, a clarity began to unfurl in Dinah's spirit as she stood among her family, yearning for a bridge across the chasm of hurt. "Father," she spoke again with fervor, "let our actions reflect our trust in God's plan. He has not abandoned us. Let us speak of peace but remain on guard, for in our strength lies His glory." Simeon, albeit still filled with simmering anger, felt the weight of his sister's conviction shaping his heart. With a gentler countenance, he turned to Jacob. "What if we ally with them not for our harm but to teach them the ways of God? Perhaps the Lord desires us to be a beacon, a testimony that even in darkness, He can bring forth light." Levi gripped his sword tighter, his brow furrowed. "And yet, Father, we must not forget the stain upon our sister's honor. How are we to rise above if our enemies linger unpunished?" Jacob, taking a deep breath, steadied his resolve. "We must be wise as serpents yet innocent as doves. If God wills us to engage with these people, it must be on His terms, not ours." As they debated, Hammer's delegation awaited, their hope woven into the very fabric of peace they sought. Hammer, observing the earnest discussion among Jacob's sons, sensed both tension and potential. "We have come not to challenge but to unite. Let us demonstrate our goodwill and honor your family with the dowry you request. All we desire is your daughter's hand." Dinah's heart quickened at the sound of those words, and she stepped toward the men of Shechem, emboldened by faith. "Great men of Shechem," she spoke firmly, "we do not seek a hasty union nor an unholy alliance. Let us consider these things under the eyes of our God. If you desire my hand, I plead that all is done decently and in order. Let us walk in the ways of righteousness." The air thickened once more with a collective breath, the gravity of her proposal hanging heavy. Jacob observed his daughter, a proud and protective spirit welling up inside him. "It is in your hands, Dinah, to determine our future. If you feel the Lord is with us in this, I will support your decision." Within the men of Shechem murmurs arose, uncertainty casting fleeting doubts among the group. The wind swirled about them, carrying whispers of possibility as Hammer nodded solemnly, recognizing the wisdom in honoring Dinah's request. "Speak then, as wisdom commands, and we shall do what is just." As the night deepened, a thread of hope began to weave its way among them, yet unbeknownst to all, the unseen realm stirred. The Almighty was at work, orchestrating events beyond their comprehension, for the threads of destiny intertwined in ways hidden from mortal eyes. In the quiet of the night, while Dinah's courage shone brightly, the unyielding legacy of Jacob's sons lingered like a storm cloud, brewing on the horizon. Would the Lord S will be honored in this unfolding drama? Would their actions bear fruit that would either rise in glory or fall beneath sin's weight? And in that pivotal moment, a divine promise hovered in the atmosphere. For I know the plans I have for you, saith the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. But how would this promise collide with the legacy of vengeance that simmered just beneath the surface? Thus, the narrative advanced, pregnant with divine tension, awaiting the sovereign hand of God to encompass their fate and draw forth a legacy none could foresee. And it came to pass, as the men of Shechem contemplated Dinah's words, the stirrings of a deeper conflict began to rise among Jacob's sons. Levi glanced at his brother Simeon, a spark of unyielding distrust igniting in his heart. Brother, does it not weigh heavy upon you, this bargain of peace? How can we accept terms that dangle our sister's dignity like a fragile thread before the wolves? Simeon, feeling the fervor of Levi's indignation, nodded in silent agreement. Our father has ever been a man of peace, yet, how can we hide the sword in such a moment? The price of Dinah's honor should not be laid upon the altar of compromise. Jacob, longing to maintain the balance between his sons and the men who sought to unify, raised his voice to command attention. Hear me, O sons of Jacob. Let us not be quick to bargain that which is sacred. The God of our fathers has guided us through trial after trial, and a promise of peace must not lead us away from righteousness. The men of Shechem listened intently, their expressions hardening as the gravity of the moment settled like a weighty stone upon their hearts. Hammer stepped forward, feigning an air of ease, yet the twitch at the corner of his mouth revealed the turmoil beneath. We seek not war, Jacob, but desire to make tributes of goodwill. The ways of our people are not yours, yet I promise honor to your daughter. A lingering silence fell over the gathering, thickening the air like the humidity before a fierce storm. Dinah's soul wrestled within her as shadows of doubt crept in, and she sought once more to speak, her voice trembling yet firm. If it is honor that binds our hearts, may God witness every promise spoken this night. But heart shall bind heart only when truth reigns. Let there be no deceit between our peoples. As the words fell from her lips, the night sky darkened as if the heavens too were anxious, a portent of the trials that lay ahead. All watching felt a chill, a stirring of fate carried on the winds of prophecy. The moment drew taut, like a bowstring ready to snap. And so it was that Simeon and Levi, gripped by a silent covenant born of righteousness, exchanged knowing glances, their minds swirling with thoughts of revenge and honor. In their hearts, they believed the wrath of justice should be meted out, but could the Lord's will be entangled with their desires for vengeance? Meanwhile, Dinah, feeling the swirling of spirits, turned her face toward the heavens. O Lord, grant me clarity. Guide us through this tangled web of human intention. Show us your will, lest we walk in darkness and be consumed by rage. And behold, a flicker of light appeared amidst the gathering storm clouds, an assurance bestowed upon her. But nearby, the determination of Simeon and Levi coiled tightly, a tempest ready to unleash its fury. In that very moment, unseen but wholly present, the Spirit of the Lord sought to reveal a deeper truth. The divine promise lingered in the air, whispering of restoration and the sanctity of honor. Yet how could such purity rise from the ashes of betrayal? As the hour grew late, tensions unraveled, waiting for the hand of God to intervene. Dinah's heart remained steadfast, rooted in fervent hope. Unbeknownst to her brothers, a divine plan stirred, for in the hearts of mankind God is always working toward his holy purpose, and thus, the night thickened with uncertainty and anticipation, the promise of God's sovereign plan woven intricately amidst the chaos, revealing, "For my ways are not your ways, and my thoughts are not your thoughts." But how would his higher thoughts reconcile with the wounds yet to unfold? The stage was set for a revelation that would unfurl both consequence and grace in ways none dared to foresee. And it came to pass in the midst of that charged gathering, that the hearts of Jacob's sons burned with a righteous indignation, for Levi and Simeon conspired together, their resolve solidifying like molten iron. Levi, driven by a spirit of justice and vengeance, whispered to his brother, "Let us act while the men of Shechem believe us weak. They see our kindness as a token of cowardice, but we shall show them that the wrath of God is a consuming fire." Simeon, emboldened by the sentiments of his brother, replied, "Indeed, our sister's honor is a sacred gift, and no price could redeem her dignity. We must act swiftly and decisively, lest we be shamed further." In that moment, as the moon cast its pale light over the camp, Dinah sensed the tension coiling around her like a serpent prepared to strike. "Brothers, hear my words," she beseeched them, her voice quivering with both fear and fervent hope. "Let not vengeance blind your hearts to what our God desires. For what shall become of our lineage if we repay evil with evil? Shall we not instead seek justice tempered with mercy?" As she spoke, all eyes turned toward her, for her words bore the weight of sorrow and wisdom. The men of Shechem, cast in shadows, exchanged glances, their anxiety palpable. Hamor, feeling the rising tide of conflict, raised his hands in an attempt to preserve the fragile peace. "The price of honor can be paid, and our bond shall flourish if only we remain committed to this pact," he declared, though uncertainty lingered in his tone. But the hearts of Levi and Simeon remained unmoved. With a gaze fixed upon their sister, they felt their determination burgeon, unbound by the chains of fear. And thus they resolved, in their hearts, to act in the name of their sister's honor, not with words, but with the sword. In the darkness of night, a wind picked up, rustling through the tents, carrying whispers of discontent, the very breath of God awakening to the injustice. And Dinah, overwhelmed by the storm within her soul, fell to her knees and cried out, "O Lord, by your mercy, let not the blood of innocents be upon our hands. Show us, Father, the way through this treacherous path." The heavens responded not with thunder or lightning, but with stillness, a divine pause, inviting reflection. And as light poured into the fabric of the night, Dinah sensed a profound truth. Honor is not merely a matter of bloodshed, but of the heart's allegiance to the righteous path. Meanwhile, far off in the distance, the Lord stirred the hearts of many. Unbeknownst to the gathered assembly, events were unfolding that would intertwine the fates of Jacob's family and the men of Shechem in ways none could foresee. A fearsome storm brewed on the horizon, a tempest that echoed the very heart of God's transcendent justice and sovereign purposes. As the night deepened, conflict roiled as a brewing storm on a distant sea, ready to spill forth its fury. The Spirit of the Lord foreshadowed that this night would mark a shift, a pivotal moment in the history of God's chosen people. And in that charged air, the voices of men intertwined with the divine, as God wrought his mysterious plan in the midst of man's folly. Then came the revealing whisper, a promise wrapped in a question: will you choose honor, or will you choose vengeance? For in the balance lies not only the fate of your family but the unfolding of my sovereign purpose and eternal legacy yet to be unveiled. And it came to pass that as Dinah arose from her knees, a grave silence enveloped the encampment, and the air quivered with unspoken dread. The potential for bloodshed loomed like a dark cloud, yet among the gathering, a flicker of divine insight began to weave through the hearts of the anxious onlookers. Levi and Simeon, emboldened still, prepared themselves, swords glinting under the faint light of the stars. Yet Dinah stood in their path, her voice resounding like a clarion call of reason amid the chaos. "Brothers, consider the Lord's words. He is a God of peace and righteousness. Shall we not seek a resolution that binds rather than shatters? For vengeance rests heavy upon the soul, and only leads to further anguish." But Levi, with fiery eyes ablaze, retorted, "You speak of peace, but what of our father's honor? Our sister has been wronged. Shall we allow this injustice to stand? Might we not risk our very essence should we falter now?" Simeon nodded gravely, echoing the sentiments of his brother. In that moment, the men of Shechem, still strained in the intermingling of fear and pride, gazed upon the unfolding scene. They were awestruck by the minimal chaos, a stark contrast to the boiling tension moments before. Hamor stepped forward, emboldened by Dinah's pleas. "Let us not be driven by hatred, but seek healing. Our actions today can forge peace between our peoples, not a covenant of blood, but a bond of unity." Yet the murmur of some among the crowd grew louder, whispering tales of revenge and blood. Hamor speaks of unity, but how can we trust those who have dishonored us? The words hung heavy, and resentment threatened to erupt like a sudden tempest. The hearts of Jacob's sons were torn, their divine intentions at war with their human desires. As the clamor rose, Dinah, in her spirit of wisdom, felt an urgency rise within her. She grasped her brother's arm, pleading, "A reckoning pursued in the dark shall only bring more darkness. If we lift our swords, may it be in defense and not in offense, for an eye leads to a world bereft of light." As if stirred by her appeal, a stillness settled once more upon the assembly, as though the heavens themselves awaited their decision. In that pregnant pause, a voice soft yet commanding pierced through the veil. "Choose carefully, children of Abraham. For the path you tread now holds the keys to future generations." With her heart racing, Dinah felt an awakening of awareness. The unfolding conflict was not merely for her honor, nor was it solely about the restitution owed by Shechem. What hovered above them was a celestial tapestry that God Himself was weaving, a narrative far-reaching and eternal. The brothers hesitated, the swords in their hands trembling now, as they wrestled with their destinies, each held captive by the weight of their family's future and God's call for righteousness. "We must turn this moment of potential tragedy into a vessel of grace," Dinah urged, the fervor of her spirit rekindled. As the dawn of a new day began in the east, illuminating the faces of both groups, a sense of divine purpose surged forth. A choice loomed before them, shrouded in spiritual mystery. Would they let their hearts be sown with seeds of reconciliation, or would the thirst for vengeance obliterate the destiny that God had set before them? The atmosphere crackled with anticipation. It was clear that each soul present bore witness not just to the conflict of the moment, but a pivotal turning point in divine history. The question reverberated through the depths of their being: what future shall you choose today, as the generations yet to come await your decision? And it came to pass that the hush lingered like a sacred promise, as all eyes remained fixed upon Dinah and her brothers, awaiting a sign, a word, or a divine touch that would guide their course. Dinah, emboldened by the stillness, raised her voice yet again. "Let us not forget our heritage, the covenant bestowed upon our father Abraham, whom God called His friend. He taught us to walk in the ways of righteousness and mercy. What shall we reflect in this hour? Shall we bear the bitter fruit of hatred, or shall we sow seeds of peace that may yield a harvest of unity?" At her words, the hearts of the gathered people swayed, their spirits caught between the urge for revenge and the yearning for harmony. A profound silence fell upon the assembly, as if heaven itself held its breath. Levi and Simeon looked upon their sister, feeling the weight of her words pierce their hardened hearts. "What path shall we tread?" Levi whispered, his sword slipping from his grip, now reflecting the dawn's light. It was as if the sword became a mere instrument of choice instead of vengeance. Simeon responded, his voice softer now, "But how can we trust those who have wronged us? Can forgiveness be so easily bestowed?" His mind raced through memories of family honor and the righteous anger that ignited their very blood. Yet Dinah shook her head, tears forming as she spoke. "Trust is the language of healing, and forgiveness is the balm for our wounds. Shall we, as a family, forfeit the peace that could exist because of the legacy of our father?" The men of Shechem, still gathered, felt the shift within their hearts. They exchanged glances, searching for answers among the emotions that tussled within them. Hammer stepped forward once more, his gaze fixed on Dinah, whose spirit resonated with the weight of truth. "Let it be known that our hearts desire peace, and we seek not an eye for an eye. If we are to build a future, we must begin today under the banner of reconciliation." The echo of Hammer's words stirred something deep within the hearts of Jacob's sons. The ground beneath them seemed to tremble with anticipation of what would unfold, and the heavens shimmered as if to affirm this divine moment of decision. Then Jacob, their father, approached, drawn by the tumult of emotions he sensed from afar. His frail voice broke through the thick tension as he proclaimed, "Let us turn our hearts towards righteousness. For it is written, 'Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God.'" Matthew 5 verse 9. May our choices reflect our covenant with the Most High. Let this day be not marked by bloodshed, but by a covenant of peace. In that solemn moment, the air thickened with the presence of God. An unseen grace began to weave through the assembly, revealing that the decisions made here would ripple across generations. Slowly, the tension in Levi's shoulders melted as he sheathed his sword. Simeon, after a moment of internal conflict, followed suit, laying his weapon down, inviting peace into their hearts. The people around them gazed in awe, witnessing a transformation that could only be ascribed to divine intervention. Then, as though the heavens opened, a radiant light enveloped the gathering, and a soft voice resounded in the depths of their souls, saying, "In your willingness to forgive and love, a greater promise shall unfold, for I am with you. I am the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end." Revelation 22 verse 13. What you choose today shall echo through eternity. The choice that lay before them stretched far beyond their immediate strife. It was the genesis of God's sovereign plan unfurling in their lives. As the light lingered, the question resonated in their hearts: what legacy will you forge in the name of love, as the tapestry of history prepares to divinely weave your choices into something far greater? And it came to pass that as the brilliance of the light faded, the hearts of Jacob's sons were illuminated with a new understanding. They stood now not as avengers but as guardians of their family's covenant, ready to embrace a destiny intertwined with grace. Simeon took a step forward, his voice steadied by purpose. "Let us unite with the men of Shechem," he said boldly, "for if our journey is to be marked with peace, then we must begin not with division but with shared burdens." The men of Shechem glanced at one another as the weight of Simeon's words settled upon them. Hammer spoke again, "We stand ready, not as enemies, but as men seeking amends. What shall the terms of our unity be? How shall we forge this new path together?" Dinah looked then at her brothers and the men who had caused them sorrow, her spirit woven with the threads of compassion and resolve. A covenant must be made, one not just in words but in actions that reflect our commitment to reconciliation. She paused, then continued with boldness, "Let each man of Shechem be circumcised, as a sign of our new alliance. In this act, let them be conformed to our heritage, and may their hearts align under the banner of unity." The assembly stirred, the air thick with anticipation and uncertainty. Levi, sensing the gravity of their choice, interjected, "What of our hurt? How can we bind ourselves to those who cause pain to our family?" Dinah's face glowed with conviction. "By remembering that we too have known pain, through this, we can heal. In our obedience to God's call to love, we can set forth a new legacy, one that echoes mercy instead of wrath." After a moment fraught with contemplation, Hammer answered, "If this is the path you set before us, we will agree. For the walls of hatred must fall to make way for the temple of peace." As the sun dipped low upon the horizon, the covenant was agreed upon. With a sense of solemnity, the two parties exchanged promises, their voices intertwining in a chorus of hope. "May this act seal the bond between our nations, and let the stars bear witness to a newfound harmony." Yet, even amidst joy, there was an undercurrent of tension that rippled quietly through Jacob's sons. As night began to fall, Levi and Simeon, troubled spirits guarding their thoughts, withdrew to speak among themselves. "Let us not forget the righteousness that fueled our initial intent," said Levi. "For our hearts must be true as we approach this new understanding. We must remain vigilant." Simeon nodded. "Indeed, and though we've chosen mercy, we must discern the intentions of the heart. Might there be a deeper deception yet to unveil?" As their concern hung in the air like mist upon the dawn, the assembly dispersed, each man heading homeward, carrying the weight of their choices. Little did they know, the winds of fate were stirred by God's hand, orchestrating events that would stretch far beyond the borders of Shechem and Jacob's lineage. Each step taken mingled with the divine, steering history toward an inevitable conclusion, culminating in the richness of God's promises. And so it was, in the quiet moments of uncertainty that awaited them, the question pulsed through their hearts: what awaited on the morrow, as the journey of reconciliation began? Would they find unity amidst division, or would another test of faith be upon them? For the story of their lives was being penned anew, by a hand far greater than their own. As the sun broke over the horizon of Shechem, the dawn painted the sky with hues of gold, casting away the shadows of the past. The air was thick with anticipation as Dinah and her family gathered to fulfill their solemn covenant with the men of Shechem. In the light of the new day, Dinah felt a sense of divine peace beginning to settle within her heart, a promise of restoration stretching across generations. Simeon and Levi stood firm alongside their father, Jacob, yet the weight of their past choices hung heavy upon their shoulders. As they walked toward the assembly of Shechem, their earlier resolve of vengeance transformed into cautious hope, each step a testament to their commitment to honor Dinah's call for peace and reconciliation. "Let us now tread wisely," Jacob urged, his voice steady with authority. "For the path we choose today shall echo through the annals of history." As the leaders of Shechem gathered, Hamor stepped forth, the morning light glimmering off his proud brow. "We come as men with open hearts," he declared, "ready to bind ourselves to your family and brotherhood. Let this covenant signify our true intentions to forge a future unmarred by the pain of the past." With a nod from Dinah, the women of both clans began to prepare the ceremonial meal, their actions a symbolic embrace of unity and hope. Dinah felt the stirring of a new beginning as she caught the eye of her brothers. "Through this union, let us remember the lessons learned from the darkness," she said, grounding her statement in a profound truth that resonated within each heart present. "Let love bind us together as a bulwark against hatred, for we have been given a rare opportunity to reshape our destinies." And so it was that the gathering began, filled with joyful laughter and relational exchange as a testament to the newfound kinship. The atmosphere shifted as the shared blessings transitioned the hearts of both families, weaving a tapestry of connection over the fabric of their past grievances. Yet, unbeknownst to them, the transformative work of God was not merely at play in their midst. It surged through the land like a gentle river, guiding them beyond mere human understanding. The blessings spoken over their covenant echoed in the heavens, reverberating across kingdoms, as the Almighty whispered quiet reassurances, a promise of hope and redemption for a fractured world. As the days passed, the men of Shechem honored their commitment, submitting to the covenant of circumcision as a sign of their newfound alliance. It was not an act of mere obligation, but a genuine spilling forth of hearts turned toward righteousness. Dinah watched closely, her spirit swelling with encouragement as she witnessed the changes blossoming among the people. Her brothers now advocates for mercy instead of wrath. In this time of shared vulnerability, a small spark ignited among them, a longing for understanding and deeper fellowship. Jacob's family began teaching the ways of the God of Abraham, planting seeds of faith and leading Shechem's people into the blessings that come from obedience to the one who called them beloved. "Hamor," Jacob spoke one evening as the embers glowed in the firelight, "let us gather our women and share our stories. Let us build bridges through culture and faith, sowing seeds that will bear abundant fruit in the land." As laughter echoed around the fading daylight, Dinah felt within her the power of new beginnings taking root. Hearts once at odds were now intertwined, reflecting the faithfulness of God. She prayed in silence, "O Lord, thank you for turning what was meant for harm into a tapestry of grace." Yet amid this blooming peace, shadows from the past still lurked, challenging the faith of the stewards of this newly forged alliance. It was only a matter of time before the underlying tensions would culminate into trials that would test their resolve and call forth deeper faith. Several weeks later, Dani, the daughter of Hamor, approached Dinah, her eyes sparkling with the fire of conviction. "So, sister, tell me of this God you serve. What strength can your faith provide against the whisper of old resentments?" Dinah, emboldened by her journey of redemption, replied, "Our strength lies not in the sword, but in the promise that God is ever present. The heart that bends toward forgiveness is the heart anchored to the divine purposes of love." Their conversation ignited a fervor among the women of both families, as they began to share experiences and dreams, unity shining brightly through the lingering darkness. And thus it was that in the land of Canaan, amidst trials and triumphs, God's sovereign plan unfurled. The covenant between Jacob's family and the men of Shechem bore witness across generations, revealing a truth that only the Father could orchestrate restoration through reconciliation. As the sun set against the rolling hills, bringing an end to another day of flourishing unity, Hamor and Jacob stood together, watching their children grow not only together as allies but as co-laborers in faith. "Indeed, we have navigated tumultuous waters," Hamor said soberly, "but the beauty of a heart willing to forgive transforms even the deepest scars into crowns of glory." In that shimmering twilight, Dinah and her brothers looked upon their new family, embracing the power of love and faith over bitterness and resentment. Together, they pledged to uphold the dignity and legacy bestowed upon them, a legacy of mercy that would awaken not only their spirits, but also the spirits of those who would come after. And the Almighty added His blessing, sealing the covenant of peace in the heavens above, for in his divine purposes remained the promise of hope and a future, a promise that echoed through every heartbeat of the generations yet to come. Now, dear friends, as the story of faith and redemption unfolds, I urge you to subscribe immediately to our channel, so you don't miss out on these powerful biblical stories that resonate through time. Leave a like now to help spread God's word. Comment below with your reflections and share how this story has impacted your faith. And don't wait even one more second, share this video with at least 5 friends who need to hear this truth. Together, let us be vessels of hope and reconciliation, shining the light of Christ to the world.